As we talk about strategies to natural resources, your community's values in general and specific to natural resources are going to be a factor. Now, we've talked a lot about how to identify and understand natural resources, but next we're going to talk about identifying areas in your town that represent other community values. Now, what is a community value? There's a huge range. It could be a spot near a river where people like to swim or fish. It could be a general store or a historic building. It could be a trail or a park or a hunting area. It could be a view or something more abstract like rural character or privacy. Just wanted to show you what's on screen. The image credit is from Wolcott Elementary School in 2014 and 15, Mrs. Hill's third grade class about re-envisioning Wolcott. On a winter cold night on January 20th, about 24 Wolcott residents braved the weather to discuss the future of their community. And this is an image from that event. Just thought it was a fun way to start this section about how to really get a handle on what are these community values. There are many ways to learn about your community values. The municipal plan, surveys, Heart and Soul. That refers to the Heart and Soul field guide that we've referenced a couple times and is in the resource packet. You could use interviews. You could use suggestion boards in public places. Do a process called community value mapping and just regular old conversations. So there's this huge list. A big part of understanding the community values is talking to people about what's important to them. Finding more comfortable settings than your standard meeting can be helpful here. Now, all of these ideas that I just went through allow you to collect the story of your community. When people are sharing what they love, what they'd miss if it was gone, where they spend time with friends, they're saying what's valuable. They're saying what their community values are about and why. Why do we care? Why would we be motivated to take action? The what you'll do about it, the actions you'll take, must flow from this place. People will be much less excited if you come to them and say, what our town needs is zoning that protects wildlife, compared if you say, people really care about keeping land open for outdoor recreation and wildlife, and there's a concern that new houses are making it hard for both. How can we deal with that? You see the difference between those two? Okay, to elaborate a little on the importance of the plan, the municipal plan. Municipal plans are documents that come out of a community process, and they're designed to be forward-looking. So they should capture a lot of the work and the community outreach, and they should have future land use maps and suggesting future opportunities. So don't forget that the town plan is an important source of values in addition to these other tools. I'd like to dive into a little bit more detail on just one approach, community value mapping. Now, a reason to do this is that there are a lot of people in communities who know about natural resources from different vantage points. Foresters, hunters, anglers, birders, hikers, bikers, foragers, boaters, kids, property owners. This activity brings them all together. This exercise allows people to identify the locations of the things that they value and where those values overlap. Later, you can look at those overlapping values with natural resources and prioritize natural resources. And this can help you prioritize actual locations to focus projects and outreach. Next steps, that sweet spot where the community agrees that they think it's important and ecologists agree that it's an important natural resource. So where these values overlap, these represent opportunities. They're potential allies. The hunters and the mountain bikers both care about this location. So it may also reveal potential friction or differing goals, conflicting goals. But even that is a way to initiate a discussion about whether compromise might make sense. So all of this is different from a survey. A survey is great for getting a lot of people to participate, but the limitation of a survey is that it can be hard to prioritize. People could say, for example, that they favor both more commercial tax base in town and more conservation, which is possible to accomplish, but a survey doesn't give you much information where each should go and how to measure those trade-offs. Actually, drawing on a map helps identify the locations of the different values on the ground. So here's an example of a community value mapping exercise. This project involved 4 Chittenden County towns, Bolton, Huntington, Jericho, and Richmond. They're ranging in population from about 1,200 to about 5,000. The towns are all in the Winooski watershed, which is ranked as Vermont's most threatened watershed because of projected development pressure. So what they did, for this project, the towns hired a consultant to do a multi-town natural resource inventory as a way to help them understand resources that cross their borders. To help towns think more about what these resources meant to their towns, they also did a community values mapping exercise that was facilitated by Vermont Fish and Wildlife Department. They did it as an evening meeting at the Jericho Elementary School. People from all 4 towns attended. They broke up into small groups and were asked the question, what do you love about living in this area? Then they circled those places on the maps, and then the places were loosely organized into 7 value groupings. Things like hunting, fishing, working landscape, scenic, cultural. When they were done, the facilitator, which actually was me from Vermont Fish and Wildlife Department, digitized the maps to identify co-occurrence, where the different value groups overlap. So this is some images from the Science to Action project that facilitated this community wildlife mapping event. So how did this project help? The project gave organizers a better sense of how community values were distributed across the land. It also helped show where those values overlapped with priority ecological locations. So in this image at right, you can see how that looked on the map. Dark red areas of overlap had multiple values present. Light green had far fewer. You can see how these cross town boundaries. The maps were used by towns in their planning process in different ways, such as deciding about what future land use should happen and where. I think that for takeaways, the community values mapping is important because it's spatially explicit. It shows where values are located and how that relates to where other values are located. This means it can help resolve conflicts in our land use planning as it becomes clear exactly what townspeople want and where. Getting a good mix of people in the room for the event is critical because it helps reveal the range of values, which then helps reveal the opportunities for collaboration and places where there may be potential conflicts on the land.